We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on DFCRadio.com.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com. This is your host, Emily, and today is the May 26th podcast of A Girl in a Garden. And I can't believe it's the last week of May. Yesterday was already Memorial Day, which seems to be the complete kickoff of summer, especially when you were a kid. You had just a few more weeks left, and then it was summertime. So if you were on Facebook, you probably saw the gazillion shares of Memorial Day and the meaning and all the reasons on why you should honor our fallen. And I had to look it up. Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States for remembering the people who've died while serving in the country's armed forces. The holiday is observed every year on the last Monday of May, originated as Decoration Day after the American Civil War in 1868, when the Grand Army of the Republic, an organization of Union veterans, established it as time for the nation to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. By the 20th century, competing Union and Confederate holiday traditions celebrated on different days had merged, and Memorial Day eventually extended to honor all Americans who have died while in military services. And it typically marks the start of summer vacation, while Labor Day marks the end. So thank you, everyone who has served for our country, people who have died and people that are still living. And I keep seeing this thing pop up on Facebook of Memorial Day is for the people who have fallen, and Labor Day are the people who are still living. But I think we should honor everyone who's served in the armed forces. So Memorial Day was yesterday. It was complete kickoff of the holiday, I guess the summer season. Kids will be out soon. The weather is completely beginning to turn. It is full-blown summer, and I probably should be happy I sit in a windowless office because I'd be wanting to go outside and garden. So last week, I actually spent my week in Chicago for the Spring 2015 Marijuana Business Conference and Expo. And it was, if you have not been to Chicago, Chicago should be visited in May. It is some of the best weather. It's not too cold, it's not too hot, it's not too humid. And it was an amazing city. So this trade show, this was the first I've been to this trade show. They do have one that's in Vegas. The upcoming dates for Vegas, I believe, are November 11th through 13th. It's at the Rio. And you'll have to look up Marijuana Business Expo and Conference for more information on that trade show. So this one last week was in Chicago. I think it was the first for having a show like this in the Midwest. And it's not what you would think. You have your typical High Times cups, which are people there as a party atmosphere that they might get that when people say they smoke pot, there's that stigma attached to it. And you think of the people that go to High Times cups. And they're fun, but they're completely different. It wasn't like a Max Yield show either. And Max Yield shows are for hydroponic shops and end users. This was something completely different. This was, well, it was a 2-day conference, 3-day conference that was very business oriented. And a lot of times when we do trade shows, jeans and a polo shirt or a company t-shirt is the status quo of what you wear. And being at this show, I had my button up on and my skirt on, and almost every single person there had a suit or had khaki pants, or they were just dressed to this different level. And you were talking to a lot of business people that were operating. It was a lot of the hedge fund and the suits that people keep saying. It's the suits coming into the business. It's the green rush. It definitely was. So some of the things that they offered at this session, and This was not a cheap trade show to attend. Just to walk the show floor, I believe, was $400. To attend all the sessions was around $800 a piece. So they had keynote speakers, investor pitch slams. They also had different tracks of topics, and one of them was new markets, the Native American marijuana industry, the testing conundrums, challenges, methods in the future, from startups to Starbucks, building a retail brand. Another one was California Cannabis Forum, the billion-dollar markets, tapping big new MMJ markets, Nevada, Illinois, New York, recreational marijuana opportunities, roundtables with growers, roundtables with dispensaries and rec stores, roundtables with edibles and infused product makers. Let's see, what else did they have? Cannabinoid therapy, the next big biotech industry. Insights on banking. Spring 2015 trends and developments, cannabis finance, IPO craze. Should you go public? Top grower challenges for commercial growers, consolidation, completion, and cost. Crop optimization, advanced growing methods, techs and tactics. Indoor versus greenhouse versus field grows. Major legal concerns for cannabis business owners and investors. Marijuana business expansion, financing. Let's see, what else did they have? Dispensary and retail, real estate, battling the black market, tips for winning patients, customers, dispensary dosing, top edibles and concentrate product trends, and the future of edibles. So all kinds of information that's typically not talked about at a trade show. It was great to actually be at the trade show with the company that I work for. I actually work for Nanolux Technology, if you don't know that, so I will put that one out there. I was there with the lighting company. And there was a few people that I'm used to seeing at your Max Yield shows and some of the other shows. There are some companies that are starting to move into this types of shows. So obviously I was there with Nanolux, which is a brand that's in the hydroponic industry. Another one, we saw the guys from Autopot, Black Dog LED, California Lightworks. There's a lot of cannabis companies, but there was a lot of growing companies as well. CEA Modules, so Controlled Environmental Agriculture, Chameleon Plasma Grow, Sea Vault, those are fantastic. Current Culture, Dram Corporation, Envirotech, Greenhouses, Easy Clone, Fluxmod, Forever Flowering Greenhouses, Gardening Unlimited, Gavita, let's see, Growers Supply, Griffin Greenhouses. So the list goes on and on. Hydrotech was there, Illuminex, Dutch Garden Supplies. And I'm looking at this humongous list, and I brought a lot of the information back. But it was a great trade show. Urban Grow, the people who do PL lights in that market segment. And then I also ran into a lot of companies that I typically see at the Max Yield shows, walking the show floor and having conversations and starting to explore what types of these kind of trade shows are. And there was a huge list of sponsors. There's so much development going into this new world that's opening up, and I have to say it was a great trade show for me and us as a company. I was able to meet some really cool people, people in the industry that you might you see in some of the magazines. Like I had a fantastic 30-minute conversation with Kyle Cushman about Vegan Matrix and just what he has going on with his new radio show. And he will be an upcoming guest on A Girl in a Garden as well. Ed Rosenthal was there signing books. I got to talk to Bob from Canacon. The guys from Cannabis Radio Network were there. So there were some big people walking and networking. And it was an interesting show. It was great. So we were in Chicago for the Spring Marijuana Business Conference and Expo. And the hotel next to us, called the Congress, they were also having a trade show in town, and obviously Chicago's in the Midwest, so we're there for marijuana. The hotel next to us had the leather and fetish convention on the weekend, so it was probably a really interesting group of people because marijuana, fetish, leather. I saw some of the best outfits ever, and I live in San Francisco. I live near San Francisco. This is completely normal for us, but coming out to the Midwest, we were just cracking up. I also had one of the best meals I have had in my life. So Chicago is great for food, and we went to this place called The Gauge, and it's in Chicago, and it was amazing. I can't describe it the best, but one of the things I had was the bison tartare. Tartare, or it's raw meat, so it was bison with fried caper, uh, chilies, aioli, and a little bit of like a cheese in it, a Parmesan cheese, and it was amazing. And it's one of those places, if you see something on the menu and you haven't tried it but you want to, you should. So we had the loaded shishito peppers with the dynamite aioli, crushed peanuts, chicharron, and the shishito peppers. We had a bison tartare, which was amazing. Someone got the roasted elk rack. So we had some elk with our dinner, which was amazing. And I ended up getting the lamb shank. And it was probably one of the biggest pieces of meats I have ever seen. But it was with grilled fennel and pickled squash, with goat feta, and it was absolutely amazing. So if you ever go to the Chicago, have some money that you don't mind dropping some money on it, this is a place you should go for a meal. And we also had dessert because you couldn't pass up the dessert at this place. And I had the raspberry dream float, which was raspberry ripple, macaroons, cream soda, and raspberry liqueur. Absolutely amazing. So Chicago, amazing food, cool conference that was a new thing for the Midwest. It's a new trade show that as it's evolving, I wouldn't, well, it's not a new trade show, but just a new trade show for the segment for a lot of companies going into, and it's evolving, and it's great to see that this industry is growing up, and we're dressing up, and people aren't yelling at each other at a trade show, and the egos got checked somewhere else, and I liked it. It's a change of pace, so it was a great show. So that was my brief thing of the Chicago Marijuana Business Expo. The next show coming up is going to be CannaCon, and that is in June, and it's not that far away. So I'll have a booth. I'll be working with Nanolux. We'll be at CannaCon. It's in Denver, Colorado in June. I'll have the dates for you next week. That should be another fun one. I did the Seattle show for CannaCon in February for the first time this year, and it was fantastic for our business and great for networking and seeing old friends and making new friends. So new trade shows are fun. So moving on for today's show, I finally, as I keep talking about send in your questions, I want to do a question of the week. I finally recorded it, and I have a whole bunch of questions already written down and started to record for the next few weeks, but I will be going over the question of the week. And the question is, why should you plant marigolds with tomatoes? You have to listen and find out why. We'll be hearing from the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners, Gardening in 2 Minutes. I'm talking with Rich from Hydrologic. We're talking about the hose filter that they offer and why water is so important. And we're in California too. Water is extremely important. And I'm also talking about volunteer plants. And I have a volunteer plant that I top dressed with some Vermifire, and it's completely taken off, and it's amazing. So we'll be talking about this later on in the show. First, we're going to take a break and hear from the Girl in a Garden sponsors. Now, if you are interested in becoming a sponsor of A Girl in a Garden or any of the other shows on the DFC Radio Network, please contact Aaliyah, that's ALEA, at dfcradio.com. DFCRadio.com. And we'll be right back. This is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com.
And you must live the healthy way, fresh fruits and veggies every day. From liquor and fast food, stay away. American soup and poison every day. Fake ingredients never crave. Your body is a temple, not a slave. Go out in the field, pick your plain fresh kale and beets. In your shake, I'll give you the recipe to stay away from Babylon food. They wanna fool you, they wanna fool me. Don't eat their fake cheese and meat. They want you to think
DFCRadio.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on DFCRadio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's the green, GRO.com.
You're listening to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com.
DFCRadio.com.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com. This is your host, Emily, and today I am sitting in the beautiful Santa Cruz, California at the Hydrologic offices with Rich. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Emily. Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited that you asked me to come out here. And today we're talking about a new product that was launched at the IGC show, which is the Independent Garden Center show in Chicago. I believe that was in August, and it is called Grow Green Garden Hose Filter. And this is something that's water. You have to have water to grow plants. But there's many things that happen with water, and it doesn't just come out of a hose. And we're going to talk about why you would want to use the Grow Green Garden Hose Filter. So this is a brand new product. Tell us a little bit about the water that comes out of the hose.
Well, that can very much differ and vary all over the country. As we all know, water quality is getting worse. We've read all the reports of the pharmaceuticals and crazy chemicals and boil advisories that people are having nowadays. So my philosophy has always been you can't really trust what is coming out of your spigot, whether it's from the city or whether it's from your well. So the easiest thing you can do is take a few steps to clean it up and make sure that it's safe for you, your kids, your pets, and your garden. And so that's why we introduced the Grow Green Garden Hose Filter. Obviously, cities introduce chlorine. Chlorine is a relatively harmful substance to most plants. Definitely soil biology. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with that, but your soil has a lot of living beneficial organisms in it. As you're adding chlorinated water, as you're watering with chlorinated water, you're essentially killing that off and making your soil relatively sterile. So by taking the chlorine out of your hose water, you are allowing those microbes and those beneficial biologies to thrive, replicate, and give your garden just healthier overall production.
Now, this is one of the ones, especially in California, most people I know do not drink tap water. And one of the things that I have heard people say at Hydrologic, and I've even said myself, why would you, if you don't drink the tap water, why would you feed it to your plants?
That's exactly our philosophy. You are what you eat and what you drink, and your plants are the same way. They are living organisms. They do store the chemicals that are in the water in their cell bodies, in the plant's actual, cells. So that's the whole idea, is that you clean up the water that's going to your plants, you're going to get healthier, cleaner, more pure produce at the end of the day. So that's really our philosophy.
So typically indoors, when we're talking about hydroponic gardening or indoor gardening, a lot of gardeners will use reverse osmosis or RO. Now, this is something that's actually a hosed attachment. So it's meant for your outdoor standard organic or any type of gardener for outdoors. How does this product work, and what are they using it for?
So it's very simple. It's an inline garden hose filter. So you can actually screw this onto your spigot at your wall and then have your hose run from the filter to wherever you're going, or you can put it at the end of your hose. I know a lot of kids and, pets drink hose water. I unfortunately did that the other weekend because we were doing a color run with my daughter and they had hose water and I tasted it and it was so bad. So,
Wait, you're not supposed to drink hose water?
there's a lot of funky stuff in your hose. Not only in the water coming through your hose, but the hose itself is introducing a lot of funky things, lead, other things like that. So by putting this at the end of your hose, before your sprinkler or whatever you're doing, your sprayer, you're actually removing a lot of the funky smells and odors and tastes and chemicals that are in your hose. So you can either do it before your hose or after your hose, or both, which some people do, so that they're assuring all the water that's coming through their hose and at the end of their hose is also pure and clean.
And are you guys recommending people who are living in the city to use these, or can this be used on well water as well?
It's perfect for both. So for city water, it will reduce the chlorine and the chloramines. For well water users, it removes iron, manganese, and sulfur. If you have that rotten odor smell, it will pull the sulfur out of the water as well. So it's great for both users.
And sulfur makes it smell like there's rotten eggs. I had well water growing up. I also had orange hair growing up because of the iron and the sulfur, and then there's a smell to it. We couldn't drink the water. We could use it in the showers, and it was something that we could only give to our plants. There wasn't an option like this on the market. So now this is available for all home gardeners to be able to use.
That's right. And that was our goal designing this product. It's got a really great retail price point. We're pricing it at $39.95. It's good for 8,000 gallons of water, so roughly a growing season, depending on obviously how much you're growing and how big your garden is. It can be used for sprinklers, drip irrigation. You can pretty much put it anywhere where you're watering your garden. And it's not necessarily only for vegetables and fruits. Flowers, any sort of anything you're growing, really anything you're watering with, this would be a perfect addition. So that's, people at the IGC asked me, well, what's your target market? I said, anybody who uses water. That's my target market, because it will help improve the quality of the water for any purpose.
And you can go online if you even look up chlorine, and that can almost take you off to, you can end up in a never-ending hole with the chlorine, but there's a lot of education to go along with it and why you do not want it in your water. Typically, it's added there with cities, but some people do not want it for their plants. And it's very important to know what chemicals and what products are being used in the water. There's already sediment and other stuff in there, and then there's additional things like chlorine that's being added into it. And some of that stuff is not good for nature and good for your plants. This is like, why do they use chlorine typically? Do you know?
Chlorine's a biocide, and so cities have to ensure that you're getting safe water. So if there's any sort of bacteria growing in the water or, coming through the pipes or whatever, it kills that. So it kills all living organisms. And so when the water is being delivered to your house, they're ensuring that you're not going to get sick from the bacteria. So great for that purpose, not really good for healthy bacteria that might be in our stomachs. That's why people are taking a lot of probiotics nowadays, because straight chlorine can kill that bacteria in your own digestive system. But then also the soil biology gets affected by the chlorine as well. And so that's the whole idea. And I also wanted to say, anybody who's growing organically, who's really truly organic minded, they're using organic soil, organic fertilizers, they're not using pesticides or biocides or anything like that. To use untreated water, I think, is sort of a travesty, because there's so much stuff in your water that all of a sudden isn't making your plants as pure as you think that they are by being as organic minded as possible. So organic growers, filtered water is 100% a must in my eyes.
And what are the things when you're doing organic gardening? You're using a lot of biology. You have your soil food web that you're using beneficial microbes in there, and the chlorine can actually kill it, and then you have to re-inoculate your plants. Besides the fact that that becomes expensive because you have to keep re-inoculating, that can be some stress on the plants because you are adding so much products back into the plants, and it gets really spendy on the pocketbook. So instead of having to re-inoculate and add new products every single time you water, you can use the Green Grow garden hose filter, and you said that was $39.99.
Right.
So we're looking at $39.99, or you can re-inoculate all the time. And a lot of those beneficial bacteria keep your plants healthy from fungal and bacterial diseases. It keeps them. A healthy plant is less susceptible to disease as well as insect infestations. So you want a plant as healthy as possible. So you want to start with the pure source. That would be water.
That's right, exactly. So it's a very small investment to protect your investment, right? So to protect all your plants, your flowers, your soil biology. A lot of people might not understand how that works, but trust me, if you're used to using chlorinated water and you go away from that and your soil actually becomes really healthy and thriving again, you will see the benefits greatly in your garden. So yes, it's a small investment to make sure your garden's healthy, to make sure that if your kids are playing with hose water, kiddie pools, stuff like that, that's going to be a lot better quality water. Your pets will really appreciate it, 100%. My dog will not drink chlorinated water. He's been way used and way too spoiled by filtered water his whole life. So just try that experiment. Give your dog filtered water for a week and then give chlorinated water and look at the look that he gives you after that. So yes, $39.95, absolutely a great investment for pretty much anybody who uses a hose.
So look up more information on chlorines, some of the different contaminants that can get in the waters. It's in our water system because it's important for people to know what we're putting in our plants and what we're putting in our body. And Hydrologic Purifications also has many other great products on the market. Today we're exclusively talking about the garden hose filter because we're all gardeners here and we need to know about that. But if people would like some more information about your products, where's the best place to go?
So we do have a specific microsite for the Grow Green. It's called growgreenfilter.com, and that's grow without a W, G-R-O, greenfilter.com, or our main website, hydrologicsystems.com. We're also on Facebook, 12,000 likes. Come like us.
They actually have a very fun Facebook page. Hydrologic Purification is a pretty cool company. They're really into health and fitness and water and kind of whole body living. And when did you guys actually get started?
So I started 10 years ago, and I was a gardener myself, and I purchased really the only filter that was available to the hydroponics industry, and the very next day I returned it because the quality was just so poor, and I was in disbelief that there was nothing else available. And so I made it my mission to create a better line of filters that were specifically aimed at growers, at gardeners, whether it's indoor or outdoor. And my philosophy is 100% made in the United States. We use only U.S. labor, mainly U.S. parts, all U.S. marketing, printing companies, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really important to me. That's always been part of my philosophy, and that's what we continue to do today.
And now you get to spread the word about why people need good water to grow plants, to drink, and to use in all aspects of life. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Emily. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, anytime. So you will have to check it out. I will post a link after the video. It's Grow Green Garden Hose Filter. Check it out. It's an amazing thing that's going to change the way that you garden. It's going to give you clean water, and it's going to give you some very healthy, happy plants. So until next time, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com.
We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with GreenGrow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's the green, G-R-O.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on DFCRadio.com. Hey, Dr. Duff, are you signing up for another one of those internet dating sites after your divorce?
Nah, I'm just ordering these freaking douchebags from China here. Just gonna be saving a lot of money on it. About $1 a bag.
Did you say douchebags?
Yeah, they're pots. They're fabric pots. They're, made in China. They save $1 a bag from all the other.
Oh, it sounds like an imitation smart pot or something.
Yeah, save $1, but, I'm pretty sure these douchebags are gonna work.
Dude, I had a buddy of mine who used those same douchebags. He bought them direct from China. It killed his whole garden.
Bro, what? So, I'm better off spending that extra $1 on a smart pot?
I'd get a smart pot.
Don't be a Duff man. Make sure to buy the original patented Smart Pot. Check them out at smartpots.com.
DFCRadio.com.
Have you ever heard the term volunteer in the garden? Well, a volunteer plant is a plant that a gardener has not planted and is not considered a weed. This is known by the term volunteer. In most cases, gardeners will consider these plants more than welcome, although they may need to be relocated or even shared. So there are 4 ways volunteer plants typically turn up in your garden space. One of the most common ways is by making and using your old compost or your own compost. Almost any veggie with seeds, squash, melons, tomatoes, cucumbers, can grow from homemade compost. Another thing people will often find in the compost, if you put potatoes in your compost, you will get potatoes growing out of your compost. Another cause of volunteer plants is critters in the garden. And one of the more common ones is sunflowers. Sunflower seeds are knocked from bird feeders or carried away and dropped by squirrels and birds. And they can easily sprout the following spring. Another example is if you ever found a daffodil in a place that you didn't plant one, the answer would be critters. They would have moved it, carried it off, and buried it and forgot about it. Raspberries is another one. The seeds get dropped from the air. Raspberries have indigestible seeds, so you get lots of raspberry plants. Another one, many plants will reseed themselves. It's the natural order of things. Volunteers found from nature this way can include herbs such as mint, which mint can be an invasive plant because it will never go away. Another one is dill can come back, and you can do that from, it's a perennial herb. Cherry tomatoes will reseed themselves with abandon. And I was just at my garden plot yesterday, and there was about 50 little tomato seedlings that were coming up, and I was racking my brain of where on earth did they come from. They fell from the tomatoes I grew in that spot last year. They're now growing in my beet area. And the last and least common, and therefore the most fun, volunteers can grow unexpectedly from previous year's planting. A common one is potatoes. Say you harvested and you miss a few of them. They come back next spring and grow. This year in my garden, I do have a few companion plants that have come up. Yesterday when I was at the garden, I noticed nasturtiums were growing. And I grew nasturtiums fairly near the same spot last year. Another one I have this year that I noticed about 5 weeks ago was an artichoke. And I did not grow any artichokes last year. So this was a fun volunteer because this came from a different community garden plots. Somehow it ended up over by me. And I had a it was growing in the weeds. I had to do all of the weeding. I've done a little bit of watering, and I haven't done anything to it except I top dressed this artichoke with Vermifire. And Vermifire is a soil from Vermicrop Organics. It can be a bit hot, so it can burn seedlings, and I can tell you it burns seedlings because I've burnt seedlings with it. So it is hot. It has an MPK of 1.6, 1, and 0.6. So the ingredients in it is cocoa coir, peat, redwood, compost, Alaskan humus, castings, cinders, perlite, bat guano, mycorrhizal fungi, alfalfa meal, blood meal, kelp meal, feather meal, bone meal, sulfate of potash, and green sand. And this is something that I top dressed my artichoke with. And it has probably grown 5 times the size in the last 3 weeks since top dressing it. And all I've done is water it. So sometimes it's kind of fun because volunteers pop up out of nowhere. They can grow vigorously. And I just wanted to see how it grows. So if you check the video feed, if you're doing Watch Live now, you can see how this tomato is going, this artichoke is growing as a volunteer in my garden with just top dressing it and watering it. And we'll have to see if I get some artichokes this year. Now, artichokes can be a wonderful landscaping plant that will last about 3 to 5 seasons. Depending on where you live, it can grow year round. And it's a great landscaping plant. You also can get artichokes from it, or you can choose for it to go to seed and actually flower. And it has these lavender blooms on it that are absolutely amazing. So I will see how my volunteer is growing. But volunteers are fun because you can ignore them or give them a little TLC and see how much they can push it during the growing season. So I will keep pushing my artichoke and my nasturtiums and my tomatoes. And that's all I have in my volunteer plants so far of this year. So if you hear the term volunteer, you now know what a volunteer plant is. And until next time, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on dfcradio.com.
A Girl in a Garden quick tip. A great way to sharpen your scissors is with sandpaper. Try cutting through a sheet of fine grit sandpaper to finish off the edge and to keep the cuts clean. For more tips and information, tune in to A Girl in a Garden, 5 p.m. Tuesdays on dfcradio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's thegreen.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on dfcradio.com. Hey, Dr. Duff, are you signing up for another one of those internet dating sites after your divorce?
Nah, I'm just ordering these freaking douchebags from China here. Just gonna be saving a lot of money on it. About $1 a bag.
Did you say douchebags?
Yeah, they're pots. They're fabric pots. They're, made in China. They save $1 a bag from all the other.
Oh, it sounds like an imitation Smart Pot or something.
Yeah, save $1, but, I'm pretty sure these douchebags are gonna work.
Dude, I had a buddy of mine who used those same douchebags. He bought them direct from China. It killed his whole garden.
Bro, what? So I'm better off spending that extra $1 on a Smart Pot?
I'd get a Smart Pot.
Don't be a Duff man. Make sure to buy the original patented Smart Pot. Check them out at smartpots.com.
dfcradio.com.
You are listening to the beautiful Emily Walter on dfcradio.com.
A Girl in a Garden question of the week. Why do you plant marigolds with tomatoes? And this is something I do in my garden. And the reason is marigolds help deter harmful nematodes from attacking tomatoes. The pungent odor can help confuse other insects. To deter nematodes, the best practice is to grow the marigolds during the grow season and chop them up and till them into the soil at the end of the season. Planting tomatoes and marigolds together is considered companion planting. And companion planting in gardening and agriculture is planting of different crops in proximity for pest control, pollution, providing habitat for beneficial insects, maximizing use of space, or otherwise increase in crop productivity. And companion planting is a form of polyculture. Companion planting is used by farmers and gardeners in both industrialized and developing countries for many reasons. Many of the modern principles of companion planting were present for many centuries ago in cottage gardens in England and home gardens in Asia, and thousands of years ago in Mesoamerica. Here are some other plants that work very well as companion plants with tomatoes. One of them being carrots. Carrots work well with tomatoes because they can share space. The carrots can be planted when the tomatoes are still quite small and be happily growing and ready to harvest by the time the tomato plants start to take over the space. Chives, onions, and garlic. Members of the onion family are beneficial to plant with many types of crops due to the pungent odor they emit. It helps deter many insects and pests. Borage is one of them. Borage helps deter the tomato hornworm. Borage also attracts honeybees, and it is an edible flower as well. Asparagus. Asparagus and tomatoes are great neighbors. Asparagus puts on growth very early on in the season, and tomato plants fill in after asparagus has been harvested. Also, tomato plants help repel the asparagus beetle. Nasturtiums. This is something I planted next to my tomatoes last year as well. Nasturtiums help deter whitefly and aphids. Nasturtiums are also an edible flower that help attract honeybees. Basil. Growing tomato and basil together increases the vigor and flavor of both crops. They also go amazingly well together in the kitchen. You can make caprese salad, which is fresh cut tomatoes, basil, mozzarella, and oil and vinegar, salt and pepper. It's wonderful. A few other crops are spinach, lettuce, and arugula. These are also good neighbor crops for tomatoes. They stay fairly small and will grow better in the heat of the summer when shaded by the growing tomato plants. There's also plants that you actually should not plant together. So many plants do very well as companion plants, but there are a few that are a no. One of them being brassicas. Tomato and all members of the brassica family repel each other and will exhibit poor growth when planted together. So there you have it, the garden question of the week. Why do you plant marigolds and tomatoes together in the garden, along with a few other companion plants and a few of the hard no's for crops to plant with tomatoes? So until next week, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden. And if you have a garden question you would like me to ask on the radio show, please post it on A Girl in a Garden Facebook page or email me at agirlinagarden@gmail.com.
We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
This is Gardening in 2 Minutes. Water is the life source of your garden, but too much can be just as detrimental as not enough. So there's some things that you can do after and during a rain to help better prepare your garden for future rainfalls.
One thing you can do is after rain is you can go out, especially a really big rain, is you can go out to your garden and see which areas are maybe more wet, more flooded, or lower areas.
This way you can better prepare the soil later on in the growing season and in fall and amend it with the proper amendments to help get better drainage. We've talked about this on this segment multiple times, building your soil to have better drainage and have a healthier, better garden. Another thing you can do is after a heavy rain, plants do sometimes become yellowing because of lack of nutrients in the soil. Plants, just like humans, can only consume so much liquid, and they need time to drain or dry out. So you need to give them a few days. You don't need to immediately go in and fertilize them. This, most times after a rain, there's usually another rain. That's just going to wash away the nutrients that you've put in for the plants. Give the plants a few days to dry out, and then assess them from above the ground.
You could also think about getting a rain barrel. This way, when you can harvest the rain that's coming, and then during dry times, you can use that rain to save money and save water.
You can get usually deals on rain barrels. You can create your own for nothing or very little. You can also go through your local extension office, and they may also have discounts and deals for you in your particular area. For more information on rain and controlling and monitoring what you can do after the rain in your garden, our weekly video productions, as well as our free downloadable digital quarterly magazine, you can find all that information at
the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com.
For the health conscious organic gardener worldwide. For Gardening in 2 Minutes, I'm Joy Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
Hey there, everybody, and this is your pal, the Wizard, and I'm here to remind you that the Heavy Tea Grow Show is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Beer 30 Show is on Mondays at 5:30. On Tuesdays, it's a twofer. You get a Girl in a Garden at 5 p.m. and Grow with Grubby Cup Show at 6. Make sure to tune in to DFC Radio for all your bizarre, weird, and odd programming.
DFCRadio.com.
This is Gardening in 2 Minutes. One of the problems that all gardeners face in some form or fashion, whether it's containers, raised beds, or most familiar is traditional ground garden with this problem, is weeds.
Weeds are obviously a problem because they can choke out your plants if they become too much, and for many people they are unsightly.
Some gardeners will plant their food crop and not do anything and allow the plants to be the fight for the strongest. If the plant that if a tomato plant survives,
survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. And then you save those seeds, and then those seeds will be stronger next year. But for many of us, we feel it's unsightly, and there's ways to greatly reduce the number of weeds that you have in your garden.
You want to pull the weeds before they go to seed. If they do go to seed and you put them in compost, you want to make sure you have a compost that is a hot compost that will reach a core temperature of 160 degrees for at least 3 days to kill off those weeds. If you're cold composting, then you just want to go ahead and get rid of them through your municipality or however you get rid of your plants.
Now, another way to eliminate or greatly reduce the amount of weeds that you have in your garden is mulching real early in the season, early spring, or whenever you can get the mulch on it. Mulch being dry grass clippings, straw, or fall leaves. This will greatly reduce the sunlight that is allowed to hit the soil, and that mulch will smother out the weeds or eliminate a lot of it. And there may be some weeds that will come up through the mulch, but it will be very, very reduced and easy to maintain. In addition to that mulch, it will help retain the moisture in your soil, which will allow the plants that you're growing to thrive. the edible plants and help ward off and kill out the weed seeds underneath. For more information in regards to how to control those weeds in your garden, our weekly video productions, as well as our free downloadable digital quarterly magazine, you can find all that information at
thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.
For the health-conscious organic gardener worldwide. For Gardening in 2 Minutes, I'm Joey Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
Emily here from A Girl in a Garden. What do you think when you hear the words garden to table? To me, that means taking the freshest ingredients from the garden and serving it in the kitchen. Ideal concept. It's actually taking the fresh fruits and vegetables that are available in your area instead of going to the grocery store and purchasing some stuff that's local, some stuff that might be flown in from across the world. So eating local food, and it's a movement of garden to table. Another really fun one is a CSA, which is community supported agriculture, and they'll drop a box like once a week or once every 2 weeks on your front door with fresh fruits and vegetables from local farms. So you don't always know what you're going to get. Same with the garden. And I was gardening this week, and I've been traveling a little bit. And part of the joys of gardening is planting things that you might not typically eat, but you want to eat. And it's about trying new things. So this week I was in the garden, and I harvested some spinach, basil, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and I think that was it. So I harvested just a few things, and I wanted to make a meal with it. I was craving some vegetables, something in the garden. So I took everything home. Part of the joys of cooking I'm not a huge cook. I'm really good at putting ingredients together, but I don't cook that much. And I'm not sure why, because every time I cook, I'm like, oh, this only takes 15 minutes. I need to do it more often. So I wanted to do something with the spinach. I wanted to do something with all the vegetables that I had harvested. So I needed a skillet, or I guess I should rephrase that. I needed a saute pan and then something to cook some noodles in. So I decided I wanted to take some wheat pasta, boiled down. This was just for me, so just a tiny bit of pasta. Made the pasta, drained it, added in a little bit of butter, and then I cut up the basil into the hot pasta, stirred that around. That was kind of my base. And then with the hot saute pan, I sprayed a little bit of olive oil in there. I washed and sliced up the spinach. So I dropped that into the saute pan, let that wilt just a little bit. I put that on the bottom of my plate. So my base was actually the spinach. And then on top of it, I put the noodles with butter and a whole bunch of basil on it. And then with the same saute pan, I threw in some olive oil, tomatoes, and peppers from the garden. Sauteed those up just real fast, give them a little bit of heat, and then put those on top of the pasta. So that was my dish. It's really simple. My staples for in the kitchen is olive oil and balsamic vinegar. So once it was done, I topped it with both of those, mixed it up a little bit, and had some wonderful pasta that way. And then I also had cucumbers and carrots from the garden. And so I chopped those up, put them in a bowl, added in a little balsamic vinegar and olive oil, salt and pepper, fresh ground pepper. It's always the best. And mix that one up, let it sit at room temperature a little bit, let the flavors kind of mesh together. And that was my meal. It took a whole 15 minutes. The only thing that I used from outside of my garden for food-wise was the pasta. It was wheat pasta. And then for kind of my kitchen staples, and this is something I always use in the kitchen, is a good balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and fresh ground pepper, and then sea salt. Those are all the ingredients that I use to make that meal, and it was delicious. So garden to table is about using fresh ingredients from your garden and cooking with it or making different recipes, making something with it. It's really easy and you can get the best food that way. So that was my quick garden to table meal that I made this week. And as new harvests come in, I haven't gotten that many tomatoes yet. So I will be doing more and more garden to tables meals, because part of the joys of gardening is actually getting the bounty and using it in the meal. So really quick and easy, nutritious, tastes wonderful. And it took a total of, I think with chopping and everything, it was 15 minutes because I had to cook the pasta noodles. And if you are making easy meals like that, you can always make the noodles beforehand, mix different ingredients in. I also use rice, and I'll mix in different kind of stir fries or put in vegetables from the garden that way. So sometimes you can keep those staples in your fridge or cook them fresh. But it's delicious, it's easy, and if you have any fun garden to table recipes or things that you've made fresh from the garden this week or recently, send in your pictures. Let us know what you are making from your garden. It's all about sharing. So until next time, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden.